Basically, I was at my pearl farm, which is in Ahe. We're here in French Polynesia. Ahe is the northwesternmost atoll in the Tuamotus, um, and it's still pretty wild up there. It's not very inhabited, so it's still very fishy, and the sharks are probably more activated there than anywhere on the planet, as far as I can tell from being in the spearfishing community for so many years. I hear stories of other places, and everyone seems to kind of say like, yeah, there's as many sharks in other places, but they're the most, the most, I guess, aggressive in where we are than just about anywhere. But that's fine, and I've been working around that for decades now. I started pearl farming when I was 21, and I just turned 54 a few days ago. So I've been doing it successfully for decades now. And it was after lunch, and we had gone out. No, it was after work. So at the end of the day, so it would have been around 3:30 or 4, and we went out towards the pass to get some fish. We basically we live off fish there. It's our main it's our main diet, and so that basically means that you gotta go fishing a lot, which is obviously a great thing. And so I was out with my friends, and we had some friends from out of town, and we had a pretty good crew. There was about 7 or 8 of us in the water, and I usually like to buddy dive if possible, but my friend who I usually buddy dive with, Brian, his girlfriend was there, and they were diving together, and we were fishing a zone that's generally pretty relatively safe in terms of sharks. It's not that they're not there; it's just that it's fairly shallow water, and so you can kind of like get away with it basically. And so so I was not buddy diving; I was fishing by myself, and I was fishing with a pole spear. It's kind of my favorite discipline. I've basically done every kind of fishing and spearfishing there is, and I just really enjoy the simplicity of a pole spear. And what I like about it is that it lets you basically take control of your fish really quickly, and that's generally a good thing where there's sharks, because once you have control of the fish, then typically the sharks they'll let you go. So basically I was fishing by myself, and I went down on my first dive, and I hit this big green parrotfish, probably one of the nicest parrotfish I've ever hit. Just about I got a nice stone shot in the head. They typically don't let you get that close to them, so getting them on a pole spear is it's a good time. And so I went up with that. I was pretty happy with myself, and then I went down, and we got a big we call it Quito, a marbled grouper, and once again, nice stone shot in the head, and was feeling really happy with my fishing. And I think Brett, and I think your listeners probably know how spearfishing sometimes you're on, and sometimes you're not, and this day I was on, and I was hitting my targets, and my dives were good, and I was feeling really confident. And
yeah, I definitely know that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hit a couple more fish, and then everybody's just about ready to go, and I went down for some parrotfish, and they sort of drifted away, and then I had a nice jack come into my frame, and I sighted up on it and let it fly, but it was a little bit far away, or maybe I hadn't quite choked up on my pole spear enough, and didn't quite have the power I needed. So the tip went through the fish, and it spined it, but it didn't. The spine stopped the spear from going all the way through, so it came off, and then it started to do this kind of like high speed erratic flutter, and so I had to sort of chase it down, and put a second shot in it. and in that time, that it took me to sort of find the fish again and put another shot into it. There were some sharks that had come around that I hadn't seen because I was so focused on the fish. And boy, if you could go back in time, right? That was basically my my critical error, is that after shooting the fish, what I should have done is I should have assessed my surroundings and seen whether or not it was safe to go up. But I didn't. I was at the end of my breath hole and hadn't taken a massive breath to begin with, and was just kind of thinking like I could just kind of get away with it. And that was an error, because as I was going up, I pulled the fish up past me, and you can see in the video, right as the fish comes into frame is when the shark grabs my my leg, and I knew right away what it was, and I dropped the pole spear, and I actually put my hands on its head, and my left thumb actually went into its mouth, but luckily it didn't bite down at that fraction of a second, and I pushed it away, and it it didn't fight me for it. I think it was probably as scared as I was. And then once the boat was basically right there, and so I jumped into the boat, and my buddy Brian put a tourniquet on my leg with the band of one of the pole spears. And then my other buddy that I knew, he took me to the village in his little skiff. And the village is about probably half an hour away. And so the whole time I was lying in the bottom of the boat, holding my leg up, and the blood was coming out of my leg. I hadn't hit any major arteries, so I didn't have any blood that was like spurting. Basically, this is something I learned later. Basically, if you don't have blood that's spurting, that means you haven't hit any major arteries, and that means that you probably do not need a tourniquet. So this is really, really important information, because today, 8 weeks later, I'm suffering daily, probably because of the tourniquet, not because of the shark bite. I mean, it's impossible to say. It could be a shark bite, it could be both, but there's no question that the tourniquet did me quite a bit of damage. So then we got to the village, and when we got there, I was lying in a pool of my own blood, and I had like the coagulated blood on my arms that were holding my leg up with. And I got there, and the nurse wasn't there. She was away in Tahiti, taking other courses to up her nurse status, or to keep it, to maintain it or whatever. And so there was a girl there that was filling in for her, but she didn't have any proper training, and she had done a little bit of nursey kind of stuff in the Army, but she had very, very basic notions, probably as basic as my own. And so she determined that we probably needed a second tourniquet on it. So she put a second tourniquet on it, and put it on with that material that you use to wrap a wound with, basically that, like a elastic kind of cottony wrap. And so she put a couple wraps around that, and had this wooden child's toy that she used to turn the tissue, and boy, man, as soon as she did that, the pain level, which was at 9, went to, like, out of 10, went to 15. And at that point, we had no idea when help was coming. We didn't know if there was a plane coming, and we didn't know when. We were in basically without that crucial information. So that's, I think, probably what governor thinking more than anything. The tourniquet was put basically like straight on the side, like straight on the side of your leg at like 90 degrees to your knee. There's a knob there, and basically the tourniquet was put on over that and just below it. And what the surgeon explained to me is that you never want to put a tourniquet there, because that's right where your peroneal nerve comes down. And he said that you need to as far as spacing from it, you want to put your finger on that bump that sticks out, and you want to go down 4 fingers, and then put the tourniquet on. So basically, for me, that would have been just about maybe about an inch above the shark bite. But that's where you want to do it if you don't want to sustain nerve damage.
Right.
If you do put a tourniquet on, you should. It's good. It's good if people know, at least they have a notion of what to do. And one thing that we should have done as well, even like whether the tourniquets were good or not, is we should have shunted them like every hour and a half or so. You need to you need to remove the tourniquet and let the blood flow through so that you don't have necrosis in the tissue. And we didn't do that either. But yeah, it was wild, because then after that, so basically the pain went through the roof, and I was basically white knuckling for over 5 hours until the plane finally got there. It was it was just wild, because I felt like if I passed out, I would probably not wake up. And I don't know if I was right in that or not, but that was my instinct. And so I spent the 5 hours just trying to control my breathing. I kept kind of hyperventilating, and then I would focus on my breath, and bring the breathing down, and I just did that over and over and over on repeat for 5 hours. So yeah, it's definitely not a scene I want to revisit anytime soon.